Hello, it's Steve here again and welcome to another lo-fi session. Today we're going to have a little look at the drum part to another of my very favourite tunes that I got to play on from the magnificent album Wildwood, Can You Heal Us, Holy Man? This, I definitely remember, was one of the first tracks that we recorded when we went down to the Manor in Oxfordshire for the session. It was definitely one of the very first that we got down, I think on the first Monday that we actually arrived in Oxford. We would travel down on the Sunday, and the idea was we'd get the gear in and get settled, and then generally go to the pub and have a few beers and be very, very fresh for when we got into the studio the next morning. So we cut this one on the Monday, and then I think we did a couple of other tunes, and by Friday we'd had quite a lot of the backing tracks actually done, and we weren't there for huge amounts of time anyway. Obviously the mixing process had to be done, so I'd be in and I'd be out, and definitely this was one of my the first that we did for that particular session. The whole lyrical content on this song I think is absolutely fantastic. It's a theme that Paul really tackled on a number of songs, this kind of just having a little comment on the hypocrisy of religion, you know, the way that so many people are pulled into sort of these false prophets, you know, and the way that man kind of affects religion to his own advantage. And I'm not getting too deep, but that's what the song's about in my eyes, and it's a subject that Paul looked at on a few songs that I played on. Holy Man, which is what we're talking about today, All the Good Books, which we did a few years later, and another song called Savages, which was towards the later part of my time with Paul, but I really loved that song. I thought it was a really, really good song. So that theme is something that he has visited on a number of occasions. Now the whole transcription of the song is available in The Art of Drumming, the book that I co-wrote with Russ Tarley, and you can, if you get the book, you can have a look at the whole drum part which Russ has lovingly and very accurately portrayed. So what's the basis of the groove? Breaking it down, it's a 16th note groove, and when I refer to a 16th note groove, it means that what I'm playing on the hi-hat while I'm playing a 4/4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's a 16th note groove. For every beat in the bar, this is for kind of non-drummers that might, you know, I don't want to lose you with technical jargon, but for every beat in the bar, 1, 2, 3, 4, there are 4 notes on the hi-hat. So in one bar, you'll have 16 notes on the hi-hat. Now, there's a number of great drummers in the soul and funk field that really influenced me in terms of playing cool 16th note grooves. The great Bernard Purdie was one, but also James Gadson, who had a very kind of recognisable style playing 16th notes. He played with loads and loads of people, but did some amazing work with the great Bill Withers, and this is a kind of a groove that he used, very similar to a groove that he used on a song called Use Me. So I used to love listening to Mr. Gadson play, and those songs that he did with Mr. Withers, he would very much just keep everything very kind of low key. And there's an amazing version of him playing with Bill Withers on the Old Grey Whistle Test, which you can maybe check out on YouTube. Now, one of the other great drummers that utilised 16th note feels and grooves was Clyde Stubblefield, the great drummer that played with James Brown on the tune Funky Drummer, which we know is so recognisable for the iconic break in it. The main body of the groove, the tune, is actually a fairly simple variation of a 16th note groove. And then the break. So there you have it, a little variation of the funky drummer beat, all out there for you to check out. So my take on the 16th note groove had a slight kind of difference in I wanted to get a very solid bass drum pattern, and I did a little thing that I've heard other drummers do, is I employed a very repetitive pattern in the bass drum that was influenced by like a samba type groove, bumped, 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 bumped. Now, I am not by any stretch of the imagination an expert in Latin American drumming. I just love the feel and the influence of it, and I really enjoy listening to it, and I enjoy taking little parts of the drumming and incorporating them into my own playing, and I don't see anything wrong with that. I think it's a wonderful thing to show respect and to the influence of such great music that we have as drummers. So it's always been a fairly effective little tool for me, using that kind of samba influenced bass drum. So for example, you could be playing a groove, and if you want to kind of kick it up a little bit, really sort of, you know, just bring the sort of tension up a little and the energy up a little more, bringing in like a Latin repeated bass drum pattern really is quite effective. And you notice the return of the awesome Changing Man cowbell there. I've kind of put it back in so you can actually see it this time. More cowbell. So basically I took that idea of the samba style bass drum and I overlaid it with a 16th note, fairly pulsing, fairly steady, repeated pattern over the top, and it sounds like this. So that's kind of a little sort of taste of the drum parts of the whole thing. It was fairly simple. A couple of things that people make mistakes on is actually going into the chorus. There's like a little two beat like bar. So instead of 1, 2 and 3 and 4, and it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and bang, and then into the chorus. So don't forget that if you're covering it. So that's it really. I just would try to keep the drum part as solid as possible when I was playing with Paul, and basically just try to support the lyrics in the best way that I possibly could. And you know, the art of being a good drummer is really, in my eyes, is just to try and make the song sound as good as possible and to keep the person that's written the song as happy as possible in what you're doing. So thanks for tuning in, and if anyone has any questions on the Ask Steve thing, we're running a little bit short, so it might be nice to hear from you. In the meantime, take care, and I'll see you very soon.